the checklist is kind of like a compass.
Okay.
So I think you should make a checklist and write down everything that you're looking for. Don't leave anything off.
You're saying write it all down.
Write it all. Doesn't mean you're going to get it all.
Okay.
Because there's no such thing as perfection. So I think write everything that you're looking for. And next to it, from a scale of 1 to 10, I think you should rate yourself.
Ooh. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hey Babe, Can We Talk? With me, your host and bestie, Drea Renee. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the place where the hot mess expresses the black sheeps of love, and for those who just can't seem to get it right when it comes to matters of the heart, I am you, you are me, we are one, and if no one else gets you, I do. And if you're returning, I missed you, and we're going to have a great episode. On today's episode, we have the amazing Desiree Mirharooni with us, lifestyle creator and nutritionist here with us today, and host of the Here I Am podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why you should work on yourself before you get into a relationship. Work on yourselves, people. You can't just be jumping into a relationship. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like, follow, and subscribe, and comment down below because I'd love to hear from you. So without further ado, let's get into it with Desiree.
Hey.
Did you like that intro?
I love that intro. You're amazing.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate it. I mean, you know what it's like. You have a podcast.
Of course.
Right?
Of course. Yeah, it's fun. It's, once you're sitting here, it's great, but it's so different being on the other side.
Being on the other side, I know
yeah.
exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I did a podcast earlier, and I always have to kind of fall back a little bit. I'm like, I'm not asking the questions. Let me chill out.
Right? Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about why it's important for you to work on yourself when you are getting ready to be in a relationship. So talk to me about your experience with that and why you think it's so important.
So I think first and foremost, it's really important to be happy on your own. Because if you're looking for someone to bring you happiness, that's just a recipe for disaster. So figure out what you like, what brings you joy, how to create your own happiness. So they call it individuation. So
individuation.
Yes.
I like that word.
Basically being your own individual and creating your own happiness. And that way you can attract the right person who hopefully is also happy.
Right.
And so that you can build on this happiness together versus relying on each other
Exactly.
to complete each other.
Exactly. And I always used to say to myself, I want to find somebody that's going to make me happy, or I want to make someone else happy. And then eventually I reframe that to, I want somebody who's going to stand by me while I am working on my own happiness and creating it for myself, but they're supporting me on my journey in my happiness, but they're not making me happy.
That's beautiful because nobody can always make you happy. It's you have to choose your own happiness.
Right.
And we're not happy 24/7. We're just human. So I think also being okay with having moments of unhappiness.
Yes.
And really going back to cultivating that happiness and choosing it every day when you wake up.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you say to people when they say, I'm not responsible for your feelings in a relationship? So I had this conversation the other day with this person, and they were like, that idea stresses me out. I don't like that when people say, I'm not responsible for your feelings. Do you think that's true in a relationship? Like, let's say you get into an argument with a friend and they get upset. Do you feel like you're not responsible for their feelings versus like if you're in a romantic relationship with someone?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think whether it's romantic or friendship, I think you have to do your best to be respectful and kind and understand that person. And if you hurt their feelings, whether it's intentional or not intentional, I think talking about it is important and having empathy. But you, to a certain degree, you're not responsible for how they feel. If they're if they're not feeling well about what happened, I think you're responsible in clearing things up.
Yes.
And talking about it, but not in changing their mood.
Exactly.
And it really resonates with me because even with like my mom or my dad or my kids, I want to make sure that they're happy. I'm like, I feel responsible for their happiness. And when I see that they're not feeling happy, it kind of rubs off on me.
Exactly.
And so I'm really working on that and trying to separate myself from having other people's emotions rub off on me.
Exactly.
Because I'm empathetic, and I think that's a really hard thing to work on. But I do think that once you channel and you work on your happiness, then whatever they're feeling, you can kind of raise their vibration just by, being centered and being happy.
Right. I think when you're in a relationship, it's really hard to have that all the time where you're like, I'm not responsible for that person's feelings. Like, I am not going to make you happy. Because all of these things that I talk about on the show, it's really easy to talk about them when you're not in a relationship. But once you get into a relationship and you have to take those pauses to really implement these things, it's really hard when you're looking at someone that you really love and you're like, those are your feelings. They're not mine. I can't do anything about that, you know? And that's one thing. And then also learning for yourself when trauma comes up for you or you're triggered or something and you're like, this is mine. It's not on my partner.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I think the key to that is being as grounded and peaceful and centered as possible. And the magic word that you used was pause. So I think pausing and taking a step back. And I think like daily practices of like meditation and affirmations and exercising, you know, exercising releases endorphins.
Yes.
So you'll be calmer and happier and really trying to like look at it at different perspectives. I think that also helps. But again, key is pause.
Yes. And to take those pauses in a relationship. I want to also get into nutrition in relationships, which is kind of like a surprise subject. It just came up when we were talking. But taking a pause can do so much in a relationship. And I think that's one of the things that I've really grown in relationships where like, I feel, because we're not going to be perfect, right?
Of course.
You might say something that's not great to your partner, but I think the ability to say, hey, I'm really sorry about that, or, oh, I feel something coming up, especially when you are with somebody for a minute, to be like, I need to take 5 minutes, or I need to take an hour, or whatever it is. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the key is like if you're having a feeling and it's triggering something, especially like it could be something from like trauma from the past, I don't think, for me personally, I don't think you should call or talk about it right away with your partner. I think, again, going back to pausing, and when you're calm and you can talk about it in a calm, like objective way instead of, you know, with high intense emotions, then you'll probably have a better outcome.
Right. And being able to say, and that's growth and maturity. Because when I was in my 20s, girl, I'm not pausing for nobody.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm calling right away.
Yeah, right away.
Right away.
When you feel like you want to pick up the phone and call and address it right there, right now, that's the time to stop and be like, chill.
And not only do I want to call them, I call everybody. I call my therapist. I call my mom. I tell the lady at the grocery store. She's like, how you doing? I'm like, you know what, girl? Let me tell you what he did. And she's like, that's going to be $26.87. Yeah, we'll get to that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I tell everybody, and I forget that, like, you're reliving the story
over and over.
And over again.
And the other thing is that they will not forget. You may forget your issue, and, like, you guys will forgive and move on, but that will be replaying in your mom's head over and over. So I really think the best is, again, taking a break, pausing, thinking about it, and not talking to everybody about it.
And learning to self-soothe, right?
Exactly.
So like working on yourself includes being able to take care of yourself. And I've said this on the show before, one of the biggest moments for me was when something crazy happened with someone that I was dating and nobody was available.
Oh,
and I had to
you were forced.
I was forced, and I wanted to peel my mother effing skin off. And I was like, I am dependent on myself right now, and not in a way, because I don't believe in total self-reliance. Like, I believe in a higher power.
Yes,
and
I was about to say that.
Yeah, girl.
To say, the moments where I feel like I need someone and I want to call people, I'm like, wait, there's God. I'm going to talk to God about this.
I always say, don't look out, look up. You know what I mean?
That.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And also, don't look in, look up. You know?
Yes, I love that.
Like, whatever it is that you believe, and I don't have any, like, whatever you want to believe, do your thing, but I always think it's important to have something outside of yourself, outside of us humans who will make mistakes and you know, upset you and all these things. But if you don't have any sort of like moral scaffolding or like guidelines, blueprints, I don't want nothing to do with you. Like, if I'm on a dating app and I see atheist, I don't think so.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Who are you checking in with? I love a men go, you just got to be a good person. To who? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I don't like all that.
I'm right there with you on that one.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so I really think it's important to be able to, when you are on this journey of working on yourself, to call to action and say, hey, let me take a minute. Let me call everybody maybe in an hour. Or maybe you don't call everybody.
Right.
You know, I have a girlfriend, she talks to her therapist and one friend.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I do have a hard time with that because I be talking, girl. I be talking like, how you doing? I'm like, well, and then I'm like, okay, let me just circle back and try to keep it like, you know, just today's not a great day. but I'm
I'll
going to
be
be
okay.
okay. Yeah,
Exactly.
because I love to give a detail.
Yeah.
I'll give all the details.
The other thing is you can tell yourself, okay, if I'm still feeling this way in 24 or 48 hours, that's when I'll give the call to my friend. So that way you don't feel like, oh no, I can't. And you're trying to like resist it and you're trying to like hold yourself back. But you're like, okay, in 24 hours, if this is still bugging me, I'll call my friend.
And I don't, and what was difficult for me is like, I would think that I'm lying, right? Like if they're like, hey, how's your day? And something crazy happened. And if I'm like, everything was great. I had an amazing day. Like, Drea, what's wrong with you? You know? And I could just say, hey, today wasn't a great day, but I don't want to talk about it right now.
Exactly.
Like, I don't have to give all the details, but I felt like for this long time that I did,
because you feel like that's a sense of connecting.
Yes.
But the right friends will understand that, because sometimes your friends are like, just tell me. And so I think the right friends will get it if you say, you know, I had a hard day. Maybe I'll want to talk about it tomorrow, but I'll be fine, because we all have challenges, and you know, sometimes we want to talk about it and sometimes we don't.
Yeah, girl, I always want to talk about it. I am always down to talk about it, but I've learned there's so much growth that does happen and more connection with that higher power. Like I'm having a little moment, like epiphany moment right now.
Yes.
It's like when you really do take those pauses and it's difficult and it's not easy and you're feeling really uncomfortable and you do take a moment to connect. I think that's really when you can transform and move into, like, again, not self-reliance, but just connecting to something outside of yourself, and you don't have to have everybody all up in your business.
Because everybody, they do want the best for
Absolutely,
you, but they are coming from their perspective and maybe their past traumas. So the advice they may give, whether they're giving advice or just listening, it can be, you know, biased based on their experiences.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes when you don't talk to them and you rely on yourself or the higher power will work it out for you.
Yes, the higher power will work it out for you. And I'm in this journey with spirituality where, like, you know, I've been kind of all over the place and having trouble connecting, but I'm still on that journey. And so with anyone that I date, like you gotta be on some sort of spiritual journey. Is that important to you?
It's so important to me. And I think one thing that I'm really looking for is somebody that's self-aware. I think that's huge. No, we gotta shift that.
I'm kidding. He's out there. They're all self-aware. There's a lot of available men.
But I do think it's really important for the person to be spiritual. It doesn't mean that they have to like meditate every day, but I think, again, going back to the self-awareness, believing in a higher power, and being committed to growth. Those are all like really important things.
I was talking to this guy from online, and I said, do you feel like you are, would you say, an emotionally intelligent person? Girl, before I even finished the sentence, he goes, no. And I was like,
you're like, goodbye.
Well,
sayonara.
thank you for the honesty, but I appreciate it.
That's
you know?
nice. That's nice.
Because he was like, I don't have the language around like my feelings. I don't know how to really do all that. And like this man was over 40, and I don't have that kind of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he wasn't that cute. You know, if he was a little cute, I'm like, I could work with you a little bit. I mean, real talk. But he wasn't. I was like, he ain't cute enough for me to like take him to like a little seminar, you know what I mean? Send him some memes. I was like, have a nice day. But I do want someone that already has that program, that has like done some of the work, that like, we speak the same language.
Yes. That's so important.
Yeah, because it's like the work I'm doing on myself, I want my partner to have that work as well.
Yeah, they say, there's a saying, something like, if you speak the same language, then you don't have to spend the rest of your life trying to translate.
Amen. It's so true. And it's just so much easier. Like, as cheesy as it may sound, like I do want to meditate with my partner,
right,
or like have these deeper conversations about a higher power and connecting and all of that, you know?
I agree.
And there was a guy that was very cute. And I went outside of myself a little bit. And he was more of like a beer and wings football guy.
Okay.
And we just spoke different languages, you know? And he was sort of in that mentality where it was like, you do your thing, babe, but my higher power is golf and beer.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know? And I was like, this is never going to work.
Right.
Like, this is never going to work.
You can have differences, but I think that's one thing.
That's too big.
That's too big.
That's too big.
Yes.
And so I want to talk about, you're a nutritionist. So is it important to you that your partner like eats a certain way, puts certain things in his body? Like, are you going to date a beer and wings guy? He's like, Desiree, baby, the boys are coming over. You got the appetizers? What's up?
I think beer and wings in moderation is okay.
Okay.
But like, I'm not like a total health freak where it's healthy 24/7.
Okay.
I love a good donut.
Love a good donut.
I have a
Girl.
sweet tooth.
Me too.
But overall, eating healthy
Yeah.
is so important for me. Because especially like when you're eating out and I like to share. So
Yeah.
you want to order things together.
Yeah.
Like they want to have like fried chicken and French fries.
Right.
I don't want that. I'd
Right.
rather eat some like salmon or steak, salads.
Exactly.
But I think like sometimes splurging here and there, but overall being committed to eating healthy and exercising is very important for me.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I've never actually thought about the nutrition aspect really of like what I eat versus what they eat and how that could affect a relationship. But it actually
does,
it really does.
Yes.
Because I remember I dated this guy for 4 years and we were just really not on the same page for food. He would have little pockets where he's like, all right, babe, this is a week, I'm gonna work out, da 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 da. We go to the grocery store, get all this food, and then within 3 days he was
Goes
back
back.
to like
Yes.
eating the fried chicken sandwiches, and he's like, oh babe, I'll get back to it next week. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, we got all this protein.
That's not gonna work.
No,
No.
and it really does affect things because I found myself, we would be eating together, like sitting on the couch, and I was like, no, like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, Drea, stop.
Yeah.
So it really is important that like you align on these things. Of
I
like,
agree. Yes. I think the more that you align, the more compatible you are, I think makes things easier. Again, it doesn't go to say nobody's the same. That everyone has differences. But again, the more you're alike, the easier. And there's big things like that. Like that's a lifestyle to me.
That's a lifestyle thing. Do you have a checklist?
I do have a checklist.
You do have a checklist.
I do have a checklist.
Because some people got like negative ideas about the checklist, like, oh, just be open, whatever. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that you need to have a combination.
Okay.
I think that you, first and foremost, like the checklist is kind of like a compass.
Okay.
So I think you should make a checklist and write down everything that you're looking for. Don't leave anything off.
You're saying write it all down.
Write it all. Doesn't mean you're going to get it all.
Okay.
Because there's no such thing as perfection.
No, there's not.
So I think write everything that you're looking for. And next to it, from a scale of 1 to 10, I think you should rate yourself.
Ooh.
So if you're looking for kindness, somebody who eats healthy, somebody who's spiritual, how spiritual are you? How kind are you? How healthy do you eat? Because it's kind of not fair to be asking for all these things and then you're not that.
You're right. That's
Or
right.
yeah, or forget the fairness. Like I feel like you'll attract that person when you are more of that. So if you're embodying kindness, you're embodying health, then you're more likely to attract a person who also is that as well.
I so agree with you. I used to struggle because when people say you attract what you are, right? And the guy I dated for a long time, I was like, am I an unavailable asshole? Like, I don't know what's going on
Well,
here.
I think that's a worth thing.
And that's what eventually
it's not-
the conclusion
yes,
I came to. I was like, well, if I'm truly honest about how I was feeling about myself at that time, then he did make sense.
Right.
Because like I didn't feel great about myself, but these things weren't always conscious. And that's another reason I love doing this show, because I want to bring into people's consciousness, like, what does your surroundings look like? Because it is a reflection of how you feel about yourself.
Of course.
No matter what you say, even if you have that friend who keeps treating you like crap, you're like, oh, well, whatever. Or the guy that you're just with, or you're at the job that you hate. It really is a reflection of what you feel that you truly deserve.
Right. And I think sometimes it's not even, a matter of that you attracted them because you're similar to them. Like we talked about, like it's self-worth. It can also be like being a people pleaser, not being able to set boundaries. And I've struggled with that myself, and I'm really learning to set boundaries. And I think the more you're able to set boundaries or say no to the wrong person, then that right person will eventually come. So I think a lot of us, maybe including myself, may have a hard time saying no. And I think the wrong person may come for you to learn to say no.
Well, I'm tired. I don't want no more wrong people. I'm done with the wrong person. But it's so interesting online. It's like I so see my growth. Now, look, every now and then I get a little tripped up if I see a super, super hot guy. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I do think about it long term. Like, let's say I get this hot guy on the phone, and then I do start realizing, oh my God, we really aren't aligned. I can now pull away. Back in the day, I am moving forward, Desiree. I'm like, this man is cute. We're going to figure it out later. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Look at you now.
But
That's a big change.
That is a big change. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
No, we all
you know
slip
what
up.
I mean?
We all have a
For
little
sure.
slip up and a little
Let me just talk to him on the phone.
Yeah.
Just see what happens. Let me go out for a drink. What's the harm?
Well, as long as you're able to draw the line at a certain point.
For most, I can.
Yes.
For most.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes difficult.
And then my question, I know you're asking me
girl, ask
questions,
away.
but do you like straight up say it like, hey, I don't think we're compatible? Or do you like kind of be like, oh, I'm not available, and try to like
Fizzle it out. I do the fizzle.
You do the fizzle.
So, okay, it depends. Like, are we just chatting on the phone and I've never met you? I'll let it fizzle. If I've gone on a couple dates with you, no,
Yeah.
I'll have a conversation.
What if you went on one date?
If it was a great date and I felt like we connected, I don't think it's right to ghost people. Generally, I just
agree.
don't like
Yeah.
ghosting.
Yes.
I hate the idea of ghosting. I just wish that our culture would stop doing that, especially if you've connected with people. Because I was ghosted so hard a year and a half ago in a way that was like we were seeing each other.
Oh, wow.
And he just disappeared. And it was so paralyzing. And, I did that thing where I analyzed the last text I sent over.
It has nothing to do with you.
Over.
That's what I have to say.
And over again,
Because you think you said something.
Yes, girl. I'm like, I said, did you pick up your dog and did you eat at the airport? I'm like, did I sound like what happened? Should I not have asked about the dog? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just went over it and over and over
I
it
think
again.
what it is that sometimes they're embarrassed, or we are embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I think that's where ghosting kind of comes from. It's like you want to avoid the confrontation, and you think it's easier to just not say anything.
Yeah.
But I think it's a muscle that you have to kind of, you have to
strengthen it. Yeah.
I'm like looking for the word strengthen. Yeah, you have to strengthen that muscle. And I think once you do it and you're authentic about how you feel, you'll feel empowered yourself. And so you put ghosting aside, You
put ghosting aside. And it's about integrity too,
exactly.
Right? And we're talking about working on yourself before you get into a relationship. And it's like, I want to be told these things. Like, I've had people text me before. Like, one guy texted me and he said, hey, Drea, I went on a date with somebody else. I felt more of a connection. Thank you so much for your time. Whatever.
Beautiful.
But I said to him,
That's
oh my
sweet.
God, thank
That's
you. We went on one date.
But
and I was like,
love that.
I love that.
Yes.
I said, thank you so much for letting me know. I hope it works out. Now, I will say 2 months later, I did see him back on the apps.
Oh.
And he liked my photo again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Right.
My point is, he could communicate, and I appreciated that versus like, and it's when you're online dating, it's like you have so many of these conversations that go nowhere. It's wild. They don't go anywhere. But if I go on a date with someone, and this one guy, he drove all the way from OC, right? And again, like, I can't like be codependent because he drove down, like he made the decision to drive down, that's what we decided to do. And he walked up and it was just one of those things where I was like, God dang it. Oh, Lord Jesus. It's going to be a long, hi, how are you? You know what I mean? And my body language was just like.
So did you sit through a date?
Of course.
Yes,
He drove down.
Yeah,
I
yes,
sat down.
yes.
He wanted to walk around afterwards. And, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Okay. So we walked around, but I like knew. And so he texted me a few times. And then I told him like a day later, I was like, hey, thank you so much. But I just didn't feel that connection. And good luck on your journey.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, I think that's the right thing to do because it's authentic and,
And it's part of the process.
It is. And you want to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Exactly.
So if you don't want to be ghosted, don't ghost,
I love that. If you don't want to be ghosted, don't ghost. And the thing is, I think what makes me sad sometimes is there's like a numbing of feelings and the connection with humans, especially when you're online dating. Everyone's like, who cares? You don't owe them anything. Who gives a shit? Whatever. Just ghost them. And I'm like, that's just so confusing. If you go on a date with somebody and you feel like you really connected and then you just don't hear from that person. I think that's insane to just be like, I don't owe him anything. You know what I mean? And you don't technically owe them anything, but just saying, hey, I changed my mind or whatever is not the end of the world.
Yeah, I think that's the kind thing to do.
It is the kind thing to do.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk to you about kids and being an example for them and how that is so important to you.
So I think especially with this day and age, with all the social media and everything out there, it's really hard for kids to grow up normally.
Could you imagine growing up with Instagram?
Yeah. As an adult, Instagram has an impact on us. So imagine how it is for kids. Even if kids aren't on Instagram, whether they're looking at YouTube shorts or just media, their friends, seeing them by Sephora and Lulu and Alo. It's such a different world. And I think that leading as an example, so if you want your kid to eat healthy, to have self-confidence, if they watch you eating healthy, they watch you meditating, they watch you exercising, they watch you saying your affirmations, they learn by example. And it means so much more than just preaching.
Right.
So basically practice what you preach.
Practice what you preach. Do you think that having children, I mean, I know the answer to the question, but having children, that affects you dating in such a different way, I could imagine?
For sure it does. For me personally, my priority are my children. So my priority is my children, my family, my career. Obviously, I'm open to dating, but that's not my priority at the moment. But I do feel for me personally, like I would introduce whoever I'm dating to my children if I'm serious about them. Like,
That's a good
yes. I think you shouldn't bring
moment.
people in too soon.
How soon would you say you should let your kids meet someone?
Well, I
that
think
you're
it
dating?
depends on the person, but
Okay.
like from like what they value for their family. But for me, I think that if your kids keep seeing different people come into play, it can really negatively impact them. So I think once you feel like this person, for me, if I feel like this person is for my life, is my life partner,
Right.
It could be wrong, but like when I do
Well, yeah, you
feel
gotta-
that,
you never know,
you
right?
never know. But like if you have that feeling, then I think that's like
But you don't have a timeline on
I don't
it.
have a
You
timeline.
Just, sort of
No.
just more
I
like
think
how
it's
you
more of
feel.
a feeling.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I've gone on dates with guys who've had kids, and one guy was like, it's a year minimum to meet my
Oh, wow,
children.
okay.
Right? And you got to meet the ex first. There was like a whole process. Of, how he navigated that. And then another guy, it was like the third date, and he was trying to introduce me to
Oh,
his
wow.
5-year-old. And I thought that was
That's
like
a little too soon.
I didn't love that because I was like, I'm not a crazy person, but like, what if I was? You know what I mean? I'm like, don't you want to get to know me a little bit more?
That's a little too soon.
Yeah, and it was 3 dates over like 2.5 weeks.
Oh wow.
Like we didn't know each other that well.
Yeah, that's too soon.
And he's like, hey, do you want to meet him? And I was like, I love kids, you know what I
Right.
mean? But I was kind of like,
But you weren't even girlfriend status then, were you?
No.
So like that's
yeah, like not even close to girlfriend status. We
Yeah.
were just like talking and getting to know each other. We went on a coffee date, and then we went to brunch and then a walk.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's healthy for kids to see
No.
that. Because imagine how many 3-date girls he's brought.
And that's exactly
Yeah.
what I thought. I was like, how many people? And to me, I feel like he was trying to find a stepmom for his kid,
Oh, okay.
like very quickly. You know what I mean? And I am pretty awesome.
You
so
are.
I get it. Yeah.
I also do think that there's some people out there who want to be in a relationship like super quick. So like the whole love bombing thing.
Yes.
So they're
Let's
like
get into that.
they're trying to like escalate it.
Yeah.
And I think like although like sometimes the attention feels nice, like if you're at the receiving end of the love bombing,
Have you been at the
chill-
receiving end
yes,
of love bombing?
Yes, I think you need to chill out. I
Yeah.
think you should take a step back because sometimes you also maybe want to see the person and talk and keep messaging.
Yeah.
But I think there has to be like a balanced pace.
Okay. I have 2 questions. Okay. One, have you ever received love bombing, but you really liked the person and you had a hard time slowing it down? Or has it always been a situation where you're like, okay, I have to like manage this and ask this person to slow down? Like, do you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I think that in some instances where I have been love bombed, I was like, this is a red flag. And so I
Immediate red flag.
Immediate red flag based on how I feel. Like I try to be go with my intuition.
Yeah.
And so there has been cases like that where I'm like, no, this is like major love bombing. Like this is not normal. So
What were they doing? Like, what are some examples? Are they giving you gifts? Are they just like calling you too much? Are they texting you, saying stuff?
I think calling and texting too much and
making promises.
and no, just saying really kind things. Although it's nice to hear kind things, but if you don't know me and you think you already know me, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Or like talking about us in the future.
You sure? Oh yeah.
I know.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Oh,
but I think I've definitely been on the receiving end. And then sometimes I had to think to myself, I'm like, have I love bombed people? Do you know what I mean? Maybe like in my early 20s, like when I just had no awareness of any of these things. I don't think it was an intentional thing.
Right.
But like I just would get so excited. You know?
But that's why I think like even if like obviously we're human, we get excited. I think it's okay to be excited, but kind of like slow it down.
Right.
Because you don't want to move too quickly anyways.
Right. But that's my next question to you. So do you think that you can control that, right? So if I meet somebody and I really like them and we're vibing, I have a really hard time pumping those brakes sometimes. Like I'm more aware of it now and I'm talking about it all the time, so it's a little bit easier. But if I can control it, like maybe I'm lukewarm with someone, right? It's easier to control it if I kind of don't really know versus like if I do like them, I'm like, oh my God, he likes me, he's texting me, oh my God, I love you too, oh my God, it's been 2 days. And he's like, what? I'm like, I thought you said. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Like, I didn't say I love you, Drea. I'm like, oh, well, whatever, dude.
I think that goes back to, it's kind of, you're making a fantasy for yourself.
Yeah.
So like the guy can be great, but if it's after 2 days and you think you love them and you're picturing yourself marrying them and going
do that
on
all the time.
Yeah.
They would tell me their names. I'm like, what's your last name? He's like, Johnson. I'm like, Drea Johnson.
That's it.
Okay, I like it. It works for me if it works for you. He's like, we haven't got an appetizer, girl.
I think that just comes from us watching Disney movies and growing up with like, he's going to come on his horse and, you know, there's no such thing as perfect.
No.
So, you know, you have to really take the time to see, you know, what's great about them, get to know them, and also see like what their flaws are, because we all have flaws.
We all have flaws.
And are the flaws something that you can work with? Because there's some that you can and there's some that are non-negotiable.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think when you're in it too quickly, then you won't see the red flags.
Oh,
and that's why I think
especially
it's good
if you're attracted to them.
Exactly.
Ooh, get distracted. What advice would you give to your daughters when they start dating? They're like, Mommy, what do I do? What would you say?
I think first things first, going back to how we started this, is create your own happiness. So really hone in on what you love to do, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, whether it's exercising, eating healthy, again, meditating. So first, create your own happiness in order to attract the right person. And also, once you do start dating, don't lose yourself. So don't have their hobbies become your hobbies and forget about your own hobbies.
Right.
You can enjoy things together.
Yep. Hey, Charlotte. We're going to acknowledge Charlotte.
So you can enjoy, and it's great to spend quality time and have common interests. But let's say like you love yoga and Pilates.
Yeah.
Don't stop your yoga and Pilates.
Don't stop it. Yeah.
Don't stop what you like doing because of, you know, the other person.
Right, exactly. And I used to do that all the time. Like I would call into work and just do all these crazy things to be with that guy. And I'm so grateful that I've really made a point to not abandon myself.
Exactly.
The self-abandonment. And what I do for myself in exercise, which you guys can do at home, which is like imagining yourself as my inner child. And any time that I just say no to Drea, I imagine this like little girl who's like, hey, like, what about me?
Aww,
yeah. And it really
sweet.
helps me come back to myself, because it's like, I get lost, girl. You know, and I'm like, whatever you want. And he's like, Drea, hold on. And my little girl's like, hey. But now I can see her and take that pause.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah, yeah. So before we let you go, Desiree, you've been so amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to play red flag, green flag.
Oh, yes.
So remember, you have to say red flag or green flag for those who are just listening.
Do
and
I
not
raise
getting
it?
You can raise it. Yep.
All
but for
right.
those not getting the visual experience, as you should,
all right.
you have
yes,
to say red flag, green flag. Okay. So his mom does his laundry.
Red flag.
Exactly. Okay. Bad style.
Is there a yellow flag? Can we do a yellow flag?
Okay.
That's something that you can change.
Exactly. That's why I was. It's a green flag.
Yeah. Okay. We'll say green flag
Green
for
flag.
that
Okay. He can only express himself when he's drinking.
one. Ooh, red flag.
Red flag.
Yes.
Right.
I'm not into big drinkers. Like I think having like a glass of wine or, you know, a drink here and there is fine. But like if you have to drink to be able to be expressing yourself,
Exactly.
that's a red flag. We want someone who's self-aware and
Amen. Yeah.
has emotional intelligence.
Yes, please. Baby
Yes.
Jesus. Wants to share locations with you.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
He's like, Desiree, where you going, girl?
Ooh. I think red flag.
Okay.
What do you feel about that one?
It depends on who it is, because if he's cute, I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah.
You could take it. You could take it.
I think it also depends on how long you've been in the relationship.
Yes.
And
2 months.
Ooh, that's a red flag. No?
Okay.
Why do you want to know, like you have to have some level of trust. Why do you need to know?
You do.
Why do you need to know each other's locations?
I don't know, Desiree. I just want to know where he's at, girl. I'm just saying, if you want to share it,
That's
down.
a tough one. I think
Yeah.
if he wants to share it, that's okay.
Yes, I
But
would
not-
never ask.
Yeah, no, but not
Yeah.
like not to look at yours.
Right.
But you mean share like you share each other's?
Yeah, each
Oh,
other's.
okay.
Yeah. You share each other's.
No, I know. I thought you meant like
he just has yours, but you
Yeah,
don't have his.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no, that's a red flag. I'm like, we sharing. That's what's up with that. Okay, has kids.
green flag.
Yes, I love
Yes.
that. Because some people are like, I don't want people with kids, but I don't mind kids.
I mean, I think it shows like that they've been capable of being in a relationship, and
Exactly.
you know, so and it also depends on the age, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Says I love you after 3 weeks.
Ooh.
He's like, Desiree, girl.
Oh my God.
Those eyes, I love you.
3 weeks, red flag.
Red
Just
flag.
go with my intuition. Yeah, red flag. That's
Okay.
3 weeks is too soon. I mean, how often are you seeing each other?
You've seen each other 9 times.
9 times in 3 weeks?
I know, girl, it's hot and
Ooh,
heavy.
isn't that love bombing?
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe so. Okay, what's another one I was going to ask you? Oh, he eats terribly.
Ooh.
Bad nutrition. But he's cute. You like him.
Oh,
but
I
he's
thought you meant like he eats like
No,
the way he's eating is
He's-
terrible. His food.
his
Oh, for
food's
me,
bad.
that's a red flag.
Even if he's cute?
Even if he's cute.
Dang.
For
Okay.
me.
For you.
But maybe for someone else, it's not.
No, I know. For me, it's a red flag. It's a red flag. No wings and beer anymore.
You want someone who takes care of themselves and
I
eats
do.
healthy. So
I do, Desiree.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
You have been amazing. Where can
Thank
everyone
you.
find you?
Find me on Instagram at Desiree Mirharooni.
You've been so
Yay.
great. Thank you so much, Desiree.
So fun being on here.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys, as always, do not forget this is the place where the hot mess expresses and the black sheeps of love. Until next time, I'm Drea Renee, and this is Hey Babe, Can We Talk? Bye.